Eyes wide open. If you think Dogman is just a legend, keep watching. From shadowy figures stalking rural backroads, from towering wolf-like creatures emerging from the tree line, these sightings have left witnesses shaken, speechless, and forever changed. If you've ever wondered what really growls in the wilderness after sunset, you're in the right place. Don't forget to subscribe, and let's take a look.
Get ready. This was sent in to me, and this might be the best Dogman picture I've ever seen in my life. But take a look at this. Tell me what you think. Is this really what's running around in the woods? Because I guarantee you, this is not a Bigfoot. This is not a bear.
And I swear to God, up in the hayloft, I could see a figure moving. I swear to God. Jump up there, really? It was not normal. Could it be a dog man? It could be a dog man.
The shadow that you seen was bipedal, and it almost looked like a giant canine. It didn't have any, human features to it. 7 to 8 feet tall, very broad shouldered, and it had this canine looking head to it.
I remember it was a dog-like creature. To this day, I can distinctly remember hearing the footsteps. Bipedal footsteps in the gravel, and it was shuffling.
I've faced predators, most of your big game predators that you have in the States. These things don't act like that. You look in these things' eyes, these things look like they're trying to figure you out. They look like they're looking through you, trying to figure out what your next move is, so they can get around it. I've been around predators my whole life, and I've never seen anything in my life act like that.
One of those accounts was with Robert Fortney, which was attacked by 5 wild dogs, and said that one of the 5 dogs actually walked on 2 legs. Just in Michigan alone, there has been more than 500 reported sightings. But one April Fool's morning, this Michigan Dogman in 1987 has become even more popular when a radio guy named Steve Cook of WTCM of Traverse City played a song he recorded called The Legend. The song The Legend consists of Dogman encounters, so Cook had recorded this song as April Fool's prank. The radio station then got bombarded with phone calls and reports of people seeing this Michigan Dogman. To his surprise, instead of just playing the song one time, it is played over and over, and it's been one of the most requested songs throughout the year. Now let's jump down to Wisconsin, where this beast made its way onto the big screens. Most commonly known in this 2005 horror film as The Beast of Bray Road. The Beast of Bray Road is the name given to a wolf-like creature allegedly reported to have been witnessed in or near Elkhorn, Walworth County, Wisconsin. This creature has been part of Wisconsin's folklore and has been the subject of multiple books, documentaries, and even a 2005 horror film. But before this movie even came out, it was actually based upon reports and sightings that happened around Walworth County. The reports and sighting of the Beast of Bray Road is often described by alleged witnesses being 6 foot to 7 foot tall, that has a human body that's covered in fur or hair, sometimes walking on 2 legs or 4 legs, and with a head that resembles a large wolf or a dog. Some of these reports also claim that this creature had glowing red eyes or orange eyes. A lot of these reports describe it more closely to resemble a traditional werewolf or a Bigfoot. So the first sightings of this creature in Walworth County was actually in 1936. But in the 1980s, Several alleged witnesses reported that the beast had made contact with their vehicles, leaving long scratch marks along the doors and trunks of the vehicle. Another reporting that came during that time was a woman claimed that she hit something while crossing Bray Road. Upon exiting her vehicle to determine what she hit, supposedly a large wolf-like creature with red eyes chased her back to her car, leaving claw marks in the rear passenger door. Sightings also have been reported during the daylight hours, which several witnesses states that they observed an unusual large wolf-like creature running on all fours through cornfields. It was even reported that this creature hunted deers, so these reports came in of this creature sometimes chasing deers through the fields. And for those of you who lives in Wisconsin knows how much deers we have, so this would be a perfect place for any large cryptid wolf-like creature. Throughout the years, animal mutilation also has been reported around the area of Bray Road, with animal remains including deers and livestock partially eaten with specific organs removed from the animal carcasses. This dogman has also been reported to be seen eating roadkill alongside the road.
So as I'm watching my dog run, okay, I turn my head back around, and what I see, this thing, it was on all fours at first, and it walks out, and it literally is 10 feet from me. I mean, this thing is so close to me, and I knew this is not a wolf. This is not a bear. This is not I know what type of wildlife. I know what type of wildlife is out here. This is not right. The head on this thing was so big, and it's on all fours at this point. I am rooted to the spot. I cannot move because I'm in sheer terror. I didn't understand what I was looking at first. I did not. I mean, everybody's heard the word Sasquatch, Bigfoot, whatever, but this thing should not exist, man. It shouldn't be there. Like this thing is not right. It's not. Oh God. So as soon as it walks out, I can instantly see its head. And you got to remember, it's not totally dark out yet. So I can see this thing in very, very just detail. It had a barreled chest, and I noticed that when it walked out. And the other thing I noticed is its eyes. It was an amber color eyes, but there was something about the eyes, man, that were just terrifying and intelligent. So as it's walking on all fours, it snarls at me, not loud. And I immediately noticed that the back of these things, it has like dog feet, right? Like pads, just like a dog would. But on the front is hands, and I can see it. And it goes to the middle of the trail right in front of me. It stands up on its two legs. And as it's doing this, I can only explain it to somebody as if you've ever heard, you know, when you crack something and it's really, it's like you accidentally crack your arm or something and it's really loud. When this thing stood up, I could hear the bones cracking, almost like it had been on all fours for a long time. Oh God. This thing stands up, and when it stands up, I realize that it has hands like you and me would have hands. It has a thumb, an actual thumb. It has a barreled chest. The head on it is elongated to the point where the head was unproportionate to its body. Like it didn't belong. Like I'm trying to figure out, I'm rooted to the spot. I got 2 machetes. I'm not thinking about anything. So as soon as it stands up, it puts its hands up. Oh my God. It puts its arms up and it starts wiggling its fingers. And I'm looking at its eyes, and its eyes are looking at me. And then it's like a dog would. If a dog puts its snout and it's looking at something intently, That's what it was doing to me. And it was looking at my machetes to me, back to my machetes, back to me, and it started wiggling its claw. And this thing, man, this thing had 3 to 4 inch claws, and they were at least an inch thick. So when this thing starts wiggling its fingers, I think it's about to attack me. I think that I am dead in the water. I truly thought that that was it for me. I truly thought that that was it. There's no other way to explain it. And I was terrified. I mean, nothing can prepare you for something like that, man. It was so, this thing is up on 2 legs, and listen, it's 10 feet away from me. It could have grabbed me. It was so close to me that the next thing it did, while it's wiggling its fingers at me, looking at me intently, my dog, and my dog is gone for everybody who's listening. My dog is gone, okay? So this thing vocalized. The next thing it did with its hands up while it's wiggling its fingers, like it was something I can't even begin to agree. It was wiggling its fingers, and when it vocalized at me, I was so close to it. I saw the back of its throat. That's how close this thing was to me. And I couldn't move. In my mind, I'm like, if I run, I'm done. If I do anything else, I am done. After it vocalizes, I vomit, because of the reverberation from this thing being so close to me and vocalizing, it made me vomit. And after I vomited, I looked back up to it, and it slaps a tree. Man, I'm talking about pine trees. Like, these are strong trees. These are not trees that you can just push over. This thing gouged. I mean, it slapped that tree so hard, and with its claws, with its hands. I don't know what the heck it was, but it did it. And it was the most terrifying thing. And and after that, it just goes back on all fours, snarls at me, and walks back in the woods. And I am stuck. I am thinking to myself, what's going on here? What the heck is that? What did I just witness? Did I just witness a demon? Did I just witness because I've heard people, I mean, Sasquatch is on TV. I mean, I don't know. I understand about that. But this thing, it shouldn't exist, man. The head was not proportionate. It had a barreled chest. I want to describe it for those listening. The head was elongated like a dog, if you ever seen a German Shepherd, I want you to take that head and times it by 5. And then I want you to take the jaw power. I can't imagine the damage this thing could have done if it wanted to. And it had me dead to rights. It could have ripped me limb for limb. And I wish I could say that this was the end. But it's not. Not even close. So it leaves, and as it leaves, and I can no longer see it. It is in the thick trees, and I gather my wits about me, and I don't carry a firearm. I don't hunt. I don't really. I mean, I know a lot of people do that, and my family does that, but it's just not my thing. So I don't carry firearms, and I just started walking back. I got my wits about me. I started walking back down the trail. And right before I turn around to walk back down the trail, I see something huge step out of the woods. And instantly in my head, I say, not again, not again, not again, please, not again. But then I realize something, that what I'm now at this point, it's about to get dark. The sun, I've already missed the sunset. So I need to get back down to the car. I know that, but I don't want to run. And I see about 100 feet up the trail from me was a Sasquatch, man. I don't, like a Sasquatch. I don't get it, but it was there. And it was about 100 feet away from me, so I just instantly started walking, power walking, and the whole time I'm crying. I wet myself, I puked, I'm walking. I finally get to the car, and I can't tell you how amazing it was when I got to that car. And here's another thing, I kept looking back, and every time I looked back, the Sasquatch was doing a hand motion, like almost shooing me away, if that makes sense to anybody. And it was making a sound, and I'm going to try to mimic this, but there's no way I could. And it would go, rah, rah, rah. And I can't explain to you. So when I get into the car, this isn't the end. I wish this was the end, but it's not. So I go, and you got to remember, so the trailhead, I want to tell everybody, the trailhead was only a quarter mile from my camper. So we're talking about not far. So I get in the car, and my girlfriend I look at my dog in the back seat, and she is shaking. And my girlfriend goes, "What happened?" And I said, I was speechless, man. I didn't know what to say. I just told her that, get out of here as fast as you can, please. So we drive back to the camper. I give her a little bit of information, but I'm not trying to scare her either, because we're still in the camper. We're still there for one more night. And now I know that these things are so close. So we're in the camper. Oh, God. We're in the camper. And in my camper, we have a 30-foot Frontier. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful camper. And as we're doing that, we're just hanging out, and she's trying to calm me down, and she's trying to help me. She's an amazing woman, and I hear the lock. So in order to open up a door, okay, or my door to my camper, you have to lift the latch, and you have to, like, pull it out. I had the door locked, of course. I mean, after the experience I just had, I couldn't stop crying and thinking about it, and it was just a mess. So I hear this lock go up, like something is trying to open it. My girlfriend jumps behind me. I pull out my 2 machetes, and I said, I've had enough. And at that point, I was fearful. I thought this thing was coming in to finish me off. That's truly what I thought. And I said, no more, no more. I'm either gonna die. I don't know. Is it gonna kill me? Is it gonna? And then silence. And it pounded on the door 3 times. And I could hear it after that, running through the brush, going wherever it went. And then, oh God. So after that, we're sitting in the camper. We're still terrified, thinking this thing might come back. And then I start hearing the vocalizations, and so does she. And she goes, "What did you do? What happened?" And I said, "I can't talk about it." And she was getting kind of upset with me, which is understandable. And I said, I don't know. I couldn't get it out at that point in time. And they were vocalizing. And needless to say, nothing came back that night, but I didn't sleep much that night, and neither did she, and we left early morning, about 7, 8 o'clock.
There's always been legends and stories around our town about these things, and that wasn't the first thing that came to mind. They just thought it was people. But then they see this black head of what looked like a big wolf stick out from the weeds, then dart back in. Then it just leaps out onto the road and stands right in front of them. And it turns and it looks at them and it smiles like a human. And then another one leaps out in the road, then another one. There were 3 of them. And they were so big that they almost stretched across the entire road. Now, I know, Anthony, you've heard this story many times. And this is a very popular story there. One of them looked in the kid's direction and smiled. At that point, one of them stood up. Like literally, like they heard a crunch and then a snap and then it stood up and it was on 2 legs.
Was it popping?
Yeah, no. You know how you hear the 3 pop, that pop, pop, pop? You've already heard people say that many times.
Yeah.
But they heard that, like a crunch and then a pop is what they described. Stand up on 2 legs and then it walked across the road smiling, looking at them. Now, they were kids.
Yeah.
So you can imagine the terror and the fear that was going through their, and just then a truck was turning. I know the road. I'm not going to give the name of the road, but it turned and it was turning onto that road. And so those 3 creatures jumped off the road and went back into the weeds on the other side and ran through the weeds, going back toward the outside of the baseball field. I stand by what I believe I saw that night was flesh and blood. But from what I'm told, these things can manifest as flesh and blood, and then they become ethereal at will. So that's why, I had the arguments with people who were just like, they're flesh and blood, and that's all there is to it. Well, some of the people that have seen them around my hometown will tell you that they're flesh and blood, and the others will tell you that they're not. They'll tell you that they are spirits.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing, though. Even if they were, why would you risk it? Why would you risk having just half knowledge, I mean, just have a speculation of, have a belief of, anything is possible. Because you're not an expert on this subject. There's not a group that you can study, in depth. You can't, there's no way to study the entire species in a way that would give you conclusive, evidence. So the only thing you can do is believe, from my experience, this is what has happened, but I can't speak for all dogmen on this subject like that. So, I mean, that's why we're very open of we don't know, so it could be either way.
After 30 years studying cryptids across 6 continents, I can tell you with absolute certainty that encountering a dogman is far worse than facing a werewolf. The werewolf might tear you apart in a frenzy of lunar madness, but the dogman will hunt you with calculated precision. Study your patterns and choose the exact moment when you are most vulnerable. One operates on instinct and curse, the other on intelligence that borders on human. I have spent 3 decades documenting encounters with both creatures, interviewing survivors, examining evidence, and in some cases, witnessing the aftermath myself. What I have learned has fundamentally changed how I understand the hierarchy of cryptid threats. The werewolf, for all its terrifying power, remains a predictable force tied to cycles and transformation. The dogman exists in a state of permanent evolution, always aware, always calculating. I grew up in the forests of northern Michigan, where my grandfather told stories that the local historical society dismissed as folklore. He spoke of creatures that walked on 2 legs through the pine forests, that stood taller than any man, and that watched our family cabin from the treeine with eyes that reflected firelight like polished amber. When I was 19, I saw what my grandfather had described. It stood at the edge of our property for nearly 3 minutes, perfectly still, observing our evening routine through the kitchen window. That sighting led me to abandon my plans for medical school and pursue the documentation of creatures science refused to acknowledge. I have no regrets about that choice, though the knowledge I have gained carries a weight that grows heavier each year. The fundamental difference between werewolves and dogmen lies in their origin and nature. Werewolves, according to every documented case and historical account I have studied, are humans transformed by curse, infection, or supernatural affliction. The transformation is involuntary, temporary, and tied to lunar cycles. In most traditions, the human consciousness is either suppressed or twisted during the change, leaving the werewolf operating primarily on predatory instinct. The Dogman, by contrast, appears to be a distinct species that has existed alongside humanity for thousands of years. There is no transformation, no curse to break, no human consciousness buried beneath the animal rage.
I have this book called The UFO Silencers. It talks about the MIB by Timothy Beckley. Big time UFO researcher. He's no longer here with us anymore. But that second page of that book, it talks about a 1967 case out in Glacier National Park in Montana, and how the MIB showed up after a supposedly bear attack that attacked two hikers. So it just amazed me. So like, why would these so-called agencies show up on these supposedly labeled bear attacks? You know what I'm saying? It's just more to it. And I'm pretty sure you know about the Knott County in Kentucky attack.
Oh yeah,
that
we
happened
investigated those. Yeah,
with Corey Kotze. You want to give a little insight about that?
Yeah, that was a odd situation because we got a picture of because he wasn't the only one who was attacked. There was a lot of animals that were attacked there also, and we have a picture of like the dead horse. And there's a huge canine print right there by the head of the horse, that was killed. His situation, they covered that up big time because the police were saying, well, that he and his family was part of a dogfighting ring that was taking place. And it was one of the dogs that they use to fight with, got out when he was trying to feed it and killed him. But, this thing dragged him like 400 feet up a hill.
Right.
And
that don't make sense. A dog doing that?
No, because here's the thing. If a dog's going to attack you, he's going to attack you there. Okay. He's going to kill you there. And you're not going to run 400 feet up a hill and not get caught by that dog till you're all the way to the top. Okay. It doesn't make sense. So that was their story. That's obviously a cover up because, a horse is a very strong animal, and they'll fight and they'll kill you. I've seen a video of a donkey killing a mountain lion, just stomping the crap out of it and killing it. But a horse, for something to kill this horse and it had to be strong to take it down because, you're looking 400 or 500 pounds, horse, and he's going to fight, and he lost his fight. But there, like I said, there's this huge canine print that was right there by the head. And we got a picture of it, and it wasn't any domestic dogs that were in the area because we didn't see any. And the deputy that was there, accidentally stepped on it, the print. So, it was a cover up.
I believe definitely. I know this is jumping into a little bit more conspiracy.
No, that's fine.
I'm pretty sure you research about these DUMBs, deep underground military bases, and how there's been whistleblowers that came out and testified of different lower levels of the base, how the base is at least 4 miles deep. One particular man that really caught my interest out of all the whistleblowers that came out was Thomas Edwin Costello, a former security officer that worked out there, who got out in 1979. And he talked about these different bases levels, and he talked about one in particular called level 6, Nightmare Hall. And he talked about all these things that he's seen in there from different genetic hybrids of what he believed that the government have gene spliced and created. And he took some papers out of Dose, and later on he ends up going missing. So, do you think there could be a potential link with Dogman and some of these deep underground military base facilities? Because I looked at an incomplete 1978 underground facility map scattered all across America, and it showed that a lot of these entrances to these deep underground military bases are connected to national park, including Yosemite National Park. So, do you think there's a possible connection to these dogmen and deep underground military bases? Even though I know there's no evidence for this apparently, but I mean, all we have is people who've have insight of these things. What is your take on that?
Well, to get back to that security guard, he also mentioned that he saw a guy in a cage.
Yeah.
Asking for help, and he gave him his name, and he went to look him up and found out he was missing. So they're using humans for experiments and things there. But, I can see the government, like I said, capturing a dogman, capturing a Bigfoot, and trying to weaponize it. Okay. Perfect example. Okay. Everybody's seen the movie The Exorcist. Well, the original Exorcist was a boy, not a girl. And right now, the boy's bed, the whole bedroom, his dressers, everything is in a storage facility at Andrews Air Force Base. Or Scott Air Force Base, I'm sorry. And so why does the U.S. Air Force have possession of the Exorcist, bed and all this stuff, other than try to weaponize it? Okay. That's what they're trying to do with it. They're going to take that dark energy and weaponize it. And I can see them taking Dogman and Bigfoot and weaponizing that into a weapon that they can use, against our enemies or against certain people they want gone. And
Absolutely.
That would be the perfect weapon to do it. But will innocent people get killed in the process? Probably so.
I agree. Let's talk about that guy you said you had that talk with who talked about these dog soldiers who claimed he was part of this military operations. I would love to hear about that.
Yeah, I spoke at a conference in Louisville, and we went to the restaurant after the conference, and I went up to the bar to get something to drink, and there was a guy there. He had tattoos. He, had a military haircut, and he looked military. And he was asking, what was going on in the hotel, and stuff. And I told him there was a conference, a paranormal conference, and he was talking about, joking about ghost hunting and stuff like that. And I was like, no, I do research on, Dogman and Bigfoot. And he goes, Dogman. And I said, yeah, and I kind of explained to him what Dogman was. And we were just sitting there talking, shooting a breeze, talking about our military history and things like that. And, he just sat there and said, look, I'm going to tell you something. You can, believe me or not. I'm, at a military base, and I'm just up here, and my job is I go and recover down UFOs, for the government. And we have a species that we were in contact with, which was a canine species. They look like wolves, but they're like human, stature and stuff, and they walk like humans, but their features are like a wolf, and they're all the same looking. And he said that they were so dangerous they had to keep them in a facility in South America, and they got out and they were creating havoc and stuff like that, and he was part of the team that had to go down and to eliminate them. Okay, So he was mentioning, he was talking about their armor and stuff that they had, and they had special weapons they had to use. But one thing he also talked about was they had a sword that was what he described as like a pharaoh's sword. Like you had seen in the movie, the Scorpion King. It's kind of odd looking sword. Kind of comes out a little bit with like a crescent moon type blade on it. And he talked about how they had this sword, but they were able to eliminate them. And Linda Godfrey got the same story like a year after I did. And I was talking to Linda at a different conference, and we were talking about it. And she goes, "Yeah, some guy came to me about the story that I met, and it was a totally different guy."
And there on top of the shed is a Dogman on top of the shed, and it looks like it's got one hand holding the power line tower, and the other hand's just stretched out in the air, and its legs are spread out, and its nose is up in the air, and it's sniffing, and it's sniffing the air. I don't know if it was looking for other Dogman. I don't know if it was hunting deer or whatever, but I'm watching this thing up on top of the power lines, up on top of the shed, and it's as big. And I'm looking around in cars around me, you know what I mean, to see if anybody else is looking at this, and nobody is looking at it. Everybody's looking at the construction, and I'm looking at this thing, and I can't believe what I'm staring at. And then finally the construction opened up. And we went. So I got home and I called a couple of my guys, and they're like, "Yeah, we got to go back. We got to go back." So we went back, and we're looking in, again, we're searching the area, and we're finding claw marks in the trees at like the 9-10 foot level, and obviously they leave a residue behind the Dogman. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's not a good vibe. The energy is not good. You know what I mean? It's a dark energy. Not that I'm saying these things are demons or anything, but it's just a very aggressive, predatory kind of energy, And we're finding all this stuff, and I'm like, okay, we got to come back at night, and we're researching these woods, and it's just, we're all over these woods. The whole time we're in these woods searching, I never seen another person in there. I never seen anything that would raise a red flag, not even a game trail. And people do hunt these woods. You're allowed to hunt in these woods. Not a game trail, nothing that would stick out of the ordinary. And we're spending a lot of time at this location now compared to the other location. And, we're getting good stuff, and we're really excited because these woods are really big, and, and they actually have a campsite there as well. So I'm thinking, okay, man, we're going to book a campsite up. We're going to spend a weekend here, and then we're going to take all our stuff and we're going to head into the woods investigating, and we'll be here. You know what I mean? Right in the middle of this stuff. One day I'm cruising up the Parkway. It was a Saturday. And I'm cruising up the Parkway, just minding my own business. And right across from the cutout used to be an old ski resort. And it's just this giant parking lot with a little out station, a ranger's outstation, park ranger's outstation. And there's never anybody in that parking lot. I never even seen any like police cars at the outstation or anything. And but so the construction company is using this giant parking lot for a staging area. They got mountains of gravel and mountains of dirt, and they're doing all kinds of construction. They got all kinds of crap there. And I'm cruising up the Parkway, minding my own business, listening to music. It's a Saturday afternoon, a beautiful sunny day. I got the sunroof open. I'm just cruising, listening. All of a sudden, I look up, and there's a park police car right up my. It was like this thing dropped out of the sky. I don't know where it came from. I didn't see it come racing up behind me. All I know is I looked in the mirror and it was there. So I pull over to let it by, and it pulls over behind me. And then it turns on its lights. So I'm like, what's going on, man? I'm not even speeding. I'm cruising. I'm a cruiser. I'm not a speeder, you know? And so I get to that giant parking lot, and I said, let me pull in here, get off the parkway so we don't block up traffic. And I pull over, and they get on their radio, and they say, go behind that giant pile of gravel. Park behind that park. And I'm thinking, what the hell, park behind that gravel? That doesn't feel right to me. You know what I mean? So I pull up behind the gravel, and they pull up behind me. And this now here in New York, the park police cars are green and white. A lot of people don't realize that the park police are still state police. And if they see you speeding on the parkway, they can give you a speeding ticket. So, but I know they're state police, so I don't speed. You know what I mean? But anyway, they get up behind me, and they stay like maybe 6 feet behind me. And the guy gets back on the on the radio, on the loudspeaker, and he says, shut the car off, throw the keys on the floor on the passenger side, put your windows down, and leave your seatbelt on, and put your hands on the steering wheel. And I'm thinking, what the hell is going on? It feels like I'm getting whacked. I feel like it's a hit. I feel like I'm going to get whacked here, you know? And these two guys get out of the car. They're big dudes, 6'5", 300 pounds, not an ounce of fat on them. They look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. One guy's got a black leather jacket with aviators. The other guy's got a dungaree with wraparound Oakleys on, you know, and I'm thinking, what the hell is going on? And I go, I said, hello, officer, can I help you? And the guy with the dungaree jacket, I mean, the leather jacket is on my side. The guy with the dungaree is on the other side of the car, but they're not getting close to the car. And I'm thinking, if they get close to the car and they touch the car, I can get their fingerprints. You know, I know people. Maybe we could find out who these dudes are. You know, and I'm like, what's going on? You know, and they like, he goes in his jacket, pulls out this black leather. Okay, and he says, "You Al Sanarica?" I'm like, "Yeah, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "Can I see some ID?" And he's got a badge hanging around his neck, but the badge doesn't match the police car. There's something weird here. I'm looking at the badge, I'm looking at the police car, and they're not matching up because the park police have a different badge than the state police. And I'm like, yeah, it's like, can I see your ID up close? Can you see? I want to see your name. You know, I don't know who I'm talking to. And he goes, you want to see my ID? And I go, yeah, I want to see your ID. And he opens up his jacket and he shows me his gun. He goes, this is my ID. And I go, okay, that's a good ID. Absolutely. I got it, you know? And he starts cursing at me. You think you know what's in these woods? You have no clue what's in these woods. I want you to stay out of my woods. I don't want you in my woods. I don't want you going to the park. I don't even want you taking your dog to the park for a walk. I don't want you in any state parks. I don't want you in any federal parks. I don't even want you in town parks. I don't want you in any parks. And he's screaming at me. And the guy on the other side is screaming and cursing at me too. And he's telling me, it would be a shame if after 30 years on the job, if you lost your pension. I'm like, whoa, 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 time out, bro. There's no reason to go there. You know what I mean? Just tell me what you want and you got it. You know, mama didn't raise no fool. You just tell me what you want, you know, and they're screaming and they're cursing. And then the other guy says, and I don't usually say this out loud on the air, but the other guy says to me, it would be a shame if you got locked up for me on your computer. And I was like, whoa, time out, bro. You don't have to go there. There's no reason.
Let me pause you right there. I'm pretty sure you heard of this man named Stan Romanek.
Oh, Romanek, yeah.
Yeah. He was claimed to be a repeated UFO abductee experiencer. He kept having these ETs coming to his house. I mean, a lot of people A lot of people thought his story was just fraudulent or whatever. I mean, I believe it was real. He sat and on the camera having interviews with people saying that he was keep getting repeated calls from these shadowy government agencies telling him to discredit himself. Then next thing you know, he gets locked up for child registers for these powers somehow put on his PC. They framed him and they put on his PC to silence him.
I saw my partner being torn apart, and it wasn't an animal. My name is Thomas Green, and I am a former police officer from Manistee County, Michigan. 23 years ago, I witnessed something that made me leave the police force and move out of the state. I've stayed silent all these years because I knew no one would believe me. In fact, I didn't even believe myself for the first few years. But now, when I read news about similar cases happening in the same areas, I realize I can't keep quiet anymore. What happened in October 1995 was real, and John Hale did not die from a bear attack, as written in the report. I worked for the Manistee County Police Department starting in 1988. It was a quiet, mostly rural area, full of forests and small towns. Crime was minimal: weekend bar fights, minor thefts, sometimes domestic violence. Practically no serious cases. Most of the time we patrolled back roads, monitored speeding, and helped drivers. It was a calm, predictable job. John Hale had been my partner for the last 3 years. He was 36, married, with 2 kids. A good cop, reliable. We understood each other perfectly and worked in sync. John had grown up in the area. He knew every road, every farm. He loved hunting, fishing, and could talk for hours about the habits of local wildlife. If anyone understood the wilderness of Michigan, it was him. On October 27, 1995, a Friday, we started our night shift at 8 p.m. The weather was cool and humid. Around 10 p.m., a thick fog rolled in, limiting visibility to about 50 feet. We were patrolling the area between Manistee and Lake City, Highway 37, and the surrounding back roads. Around 11:30 p.m., dispatch radioed us. A local resident named Robert Miller reported that on the County Road 412, about a mile west of the Old State Road junction, a large animal had stepped onto the roadway. Miller was driving home from work and nearly hit it. According to him, the animal stood in the middle of the road and didn't move when he honked. He described it as very large, dark, with glowing eyes. He couldn't tell if it was an elk or a bear. We took the call and headed to the location. It took us about 15 minutes. County Road 412 is a narrow 2-lane road cutting through dense forest. The asphalt is old and cracked in places. There's no lighting, not even during the day. People rarely drive there, especially at night. It's the perfect place to run into wildlife.
There was a tree line, and it was a thin tree line, and the trees were about 10 feet tall. And behind that was a fence. Behind the fence was a thick sticker bush or blackberry bushes, I guess. And so about a mile back from there would be there was a river. So it was more woody in back of the place than it was the front. And we were living on a dead-end street, and we were close to the end of the street. And so the first, I think it was the second night we were there, we had, I was in a sharing room and a bed with my sister, and she was 4 years old, and our bed was sitting by the wall, and so my sister laid up against the wall, and I was closest to the window. The window was about 7 feet from our bed. It had to be later than 10 because my parents go to bed about that time, and everyone was asleep. And so my sister and I heard this tap, tap, tap on the window, like a claw sound or nails tapping on the window. Mm-hmm. And so we sat up and looked at the window. Oh boy. And we saw this face looking at us, and I think the first thing I saw was the glowing red eyes. They were like angry looking, glowing red eyes. And my sister looked at me and goes, "Oh boy," laid down, rolled over, and went back to sleep. I don't know. I don't hear too many kids that would have been able to do that. But she said when we got older, I talked to her a little bit about it. And she said that, "Well, you're my big sister. I thought you were going to protect me from that. So I thought I was safe." And I'm like, seriously, things kids think, it's funny. But, but me, I couldn't keep my eyes off the thing. I don't know if it was talking to me like telepathically or what, but I just felt if I took my eyes off of this thing, it was going to come in and get me. And it also gave that same vibe that the spirit gave of, we don't want you here, like you're intruding in our space type of thing. But so this thing I think it was a dark brown. I'm not 100% sure because it was pretty dark, but it didn't look black to me. But it had long pointy ears and tufts of hair at the top of the ears, and its snout wasn't like super long, but it was like a medium length of kind of like a chow, I guess, about that size.
Okay.
And its mouth was wide open because it was growling, and you could see like the drool dripping off one of its teeth, and just like pure anger and hate coming off the face. Oh, I'm guessing the thing probably was about 8.5, 9 feet tall because, like I said earlier, the bottom of the window was 8 feet, and his head was at least at the middle of the window. And I didn't see the whole thing because I could just see from like the chest up from where I was. Because, yeah. So, but it was pretty hairy from what I could tell. When I saw it, it was laying one of its hands on the window, probably the one that was using the tap with. And so, it had like those, it was like a little more human than like the werewolf look, but not like less raccoony than they like. I don't know if you've heard them say they look like raccoon hands, but these look a little more human, except for they were a lot thinner. It was really weird.
How far away were you from? Can you give us a general location of this house in as far as is it along a main road? Is it on a back road? Does it have a garden that leads on to another garden? Is it near the woods? Is it near a forest? Can you give us a general location, sort of that old house that you had?
Well, the front of the house was kind of, we weren't like super close to the city, but they're maybe about 8 blocks from a grocery store from the, in the front of the house. But the back of the house was more secluded. There was a lot of bushes and trees and like the blackberry bushes and stuff. And then it went like about a mile before there was any homes behind us. And then behind those homes, there was a river that was kind of more secluded. So that makes any sense.
Okay. Okay, so it was quite from what I guess from what you're saying, it was basically a burb, and you were in and amongst like an estate, if you like, like an estate of houses, a suburb of houses. So the roads were kind of like quite wide but quiet. It depends on the rush hour or not, but usually quite quiet. Is that the way? These were and these were kind of like when they were built, they were all built to be and look the same along this road.
Not exactly. The houses did look different. Like some of them were 2 stories and some of them were just 1 story. So.
Okay, all right then. Okay. So yeah, I was just wondering, kind of, because it's rare to find a Dogman entity coming quite close into a suburb. You know, usually they're kind of like on the outskirts of a forest or a wood, and they'll venture in.
Right.
But it sounds like this particular one had to come quite far to where you were in your house.
Yeah, maybe a mile from any seclusion. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And you see, going that mile, when it had to travel that mile, it would have to have gone through, it would have had to have navigated its way through streets, I guess.
Well, there's really only maybe one or two streets behind our place. But it was a little ways from because we had like blackberry bushes, and so they were pretty thick.
Okay.
If that makes sense. And so there was like maybe 20, 30 feet of those. And then behind that there was one street, and then like it was a small street. Not a busy street, if that makes sense.
When you saw this thing at the window, how did it make you feel? I know you must have been like, jeepers, no, what the hell is that? But did it have an intent? Did you feel that it had an intent to come in? I know you said that you felt that it had an intent.
Yeah. Well, it just felt, I don't know if it was my own mind or if it was telling me or what, but I just felt like if I didn't keep my eyes on it, that it was going to come get me. So I don't know if that was just my little mind or if it was telling me that. Or.
Okay.
And then I also felt like it was trying to tell us to leave. Which, if they're trying to tell you to leave, I don't know why they don't go to the parents. Because the kids aren't in charge of that.
Yeah. No, it's it. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's odd, isn't it? It is odd. Well, you told your parents about this Dogman, did you?
Yes. The next morning, my sister and I went and told my parents what we saw. But with my little mind, it was just like after the last Star Wars movie came out in Return of the Jedi. So not that it looked like him, but we equated it to him because he was evil, Darth Vader.
Yeah. Okay.
We told Mom that Darth Vader came to our window, but it was a hairy Darth Vader is what we said. I don't know why we said that, but that's what we told her. And we said it looked like a scary wolf-looking Darth Vader or something stupid like that. Kids are weird.
Yeah.
And so then my dad and his brother went out and investigated the backyard. And so since it was summer, we had used the sprinklers and stuff, and so the ground was wet. And there was some footprints, and they were like elongated wolf prints with claws digging into the ground, like where it looked like there was claws. And they were the first set was facing the window, and then they saw a couple of different sets heading towards the blackberry bushes in the back of the house. However, they told us that they did not believe that we saw what we told them we saw. Even with the evidence.
Right. Okay. Yeah. But it could have been a case. It'd be fascinating it could have been, because a lot of times with parents, they say, I don't believe that. It's nonsense.
Right.
Almost, do you know what I mean? Almost to kind of like pacify the child, look, there's that load of old, even though they found the footprints. They might just, it's nothing. So, rather than say, wow, yeah, we found footprints. That's massive, because it would just reconfirm to the child, look, there was something at the window. And at the end of the day, you got to live there, haven't you? So,
Yeah.
This one wasn't particularly that long. It was quite stubby. right?
Have you seen the picture of the LBL beast?
Yeah.
Okay, so it was kind of like that, but the snout was slightly longer than that.
Okay, right. Okay. Did you see it go or not? Did you see it
No, that's
leave?
the weirdest thing. I don't remember seeing it leave. I don't know if it disappeared or maybe it put me to sleep or something. I don't know. I don't remember seeing it leave. And it's so strange.
Okay, right. So 1 minute you're staring at it, and next minute you you can't remember what happened. It just went. It wasn't
Right.
there. Okay, right. But you do remember looking out the window and it was empty, an empty window, nothing there.
Yes.
Have you told anyone? Like, have you told your other partner, your partner that you have at the moment? What do they think of it?
He gives me a very hard time if I talk about Dogman or anything like that.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, you know, I've had it. I've had it. You know, it's you know, not particularly with not particularly like with my partner. I've been lucky like that. She kind of sits on the fence. You know, she's like doesn't believe, does believe, doesn't believe. She sort of she just thinks I'm nuts generally. But it's hard to explain to someone who hasn't had a sighting or an experience, isn't it? It's very hard.
Yes. Yes.
You know,
You haven't told too many people because, I mean, like, who's going to believe you anyways? Unless somebody else has already gone through it. They don't get it.
have you had anything since with that, Chris?
Well, at that place, we stayed there for another, for like 21 years. But, I mean, I didn't live there for the whole time, but my parents did. But over those years while we were still there, I felt like I was being watched, and then I couldn't get super close to the window. I had this fear after that of as soon as it starts getting dark, I couldn't be near windows, but I was close enough where I could look out the window, and I would still see like the red glowing eyes in the tree line. So that was pretty much it.
Right. Okay. Was it just one set of eyes, or at a time, one set or two?
Usually just one set.
Okay. Right. I've got to ask you this: in your heart of hearts, did you have the feeling that it was the same? Did you have that feeling that it was the same? It was the same entity, the same Dogman?
Yeah, it did feel like that.
Is it? You did have another experience, I gather, because we did speak about this.
Yeah.
Can you share that with us, please? Is that possible to
Okay.
share?
Well, it was February of 1997. I was 19 years old. I had just gotten married a few months before, and we were living in a more rural area. It was maybe 40 minutes from my first encounter, and it was a government housing place. It was like several duplexes across the property, and there was this laundry room. It was quite a few feet away from the building, and it was the setting was more around like a bunch of farmland and woody areas. Like I could see the woods from the laundry room. So about a week later, I was carrying my laundry, and I had my keys in one hand and the laundry basket in the other. It was about 3:30 in the afternoon, and so the laundry room was up a short hill, so it's not like nothing major, but you had to take a few steps up the hill. And so, and there was a couple of trees on the side of the hill, like just before you got up the hill. And in the middle of the hill, I saw this dark figure, like squatting in front of the hill, and it was holding, I don't know if it was a squirrel or what, but it was holding some animal, and it was eating this animal, and I saw its hands. And so I was like, this is so strange, and I didn't want to run into this thing. But his hands looked like raccoony hands, you know. So
Look. Sorry, say again. His hands look like what? Sorry.
Raccoon type hands.
Back hands. Yeah.
Yeah. But I tried to avoid this thing. I didn't get a great look at it because I was trying to avoid it, but I did see that it had like pointy ears and it was like a dark form. And so I go around a different direction to get up that hill. Hopefully it wouldn't hear me or see me or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I get up that hill, and about the time I reached the top of it, I saw this thing stand up on its back legs. And it totally scared me. But I gasped, because it shocked me.
Yeah.
And, excuse me. So it was sniffing the air. And then it turned around and looked right into my face. And I was like totally panicking about that time. So I'm like trying to think in my mind, it's going a mile a minute, just trying to think, what am I supposed to do? I'm out here with this thing. I don't know what this thing is. There was no one else around that I saw or anything, and I've never heard anyone mention anything. But anyways, I started walking backwards because I didn't want to get my eyes off of it, and I didn't think it was a good idea to run because then they start chasing you typically, So I'm walking backwards, and so I'm trying to get to the laundry room, which is maybe 10 feet from the top of the hill. And about that time, the thing takes 2 steps, and it's at the top of the hill. And so I'm like maybe 5 feet from the laundry at this time, and I sped up my walk a little bit, and it took 1 step and was only a couple feet away from me at this point, and my hands are shaking. So, everything's in like slow motion. It's like watching a horror movie. Your hands are shaking. You can't get the keys in the door. And so I do get it in there. I don't know how I got away because like this thing gets to me. And I don't know if there was an angel there or not. I didn't see anything, but it doesn't mean there wasn't one there. But it's the only thing that makes sense to me. But it reaches out to grab me. And that was about the point that I got into the laundry room. And I locked the door. And I don't know I don't know how I managed getting in there before it grabbed me. It reached out. So it was right there. And I get the door locked, and I lean against the door, and, I'm trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do. And about the time he starts jiggling the door handle, and it wasn't like just a small jiggle. He was really jiggling that thing. And I'm like, oh, God, this is it, He's going to break this door down, because, apartments don't have a lot of strong doors and stuff. So I'm like totally panicking, and I'm praying, and, so it's trying to get in. And then he stops jiggling the handle. Sorry. I go back. When I get to this point, I usually go back to that. It was so scary.
Yeah. Okay, takes time. Takes time. If you need to have a pause and a break, you can. It's fine.
Yeah, that's all right.
Okay. All right. Because just to ask you, when you first saw this thing and it was eating an animal,
mm-hmm.
Was it crouched down at the time eating the animal?
Yes, it was crouched down.
Was it? Would you say that was it by the side of a road? Was it like roadkill it was eating, or?
No, this was in the complex.
In the complex, so it's not by a road. It wasn't like roadkill. Okay, right.
Right. It might have found it on the road or something because it wasn't, super far from the road, but enough that
Okay. Fine. And it was at that time, it was quite a distance away from you, was it?
Yeah,
Okay. Right.
that's why I went around. Yeah.
Right. All right then. Right. Right. Okay. Right. So it chased you, and you're now in a laundry room, and
Mhm.
it's rattling the door to try and get in. It's
Mhm.
absurdly fast. It's like crazy fast. It bounded up in a couple of bounds,
Mhm.
which would have taken you a good run to get there. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Right. We got that. Uh, so you're in the laundry room. You're praying, and it's rattling the doorknob. Is it growling or making any sounds?
I just could hear it like breathing, like how something with a lot of lung power breathes, and the loud sounds they make.
Okay. Right. And at that point, you were obviously in fear of your life.
Yes.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, I don't even know how I escaped it. So.
No, I got you. Yeah. Sure. Any idea on how big it was? Was it the same size? Was it about 9 foot, 8 foot?
I'd say at least 8.5 feet, maybe more.
Okay. All
Because
right.
because to the right of that door there was a window, and it eventually walked over to that window, but it had to bend over to look in the window. So I'm guessing it was pretty tall. Yeah.
Yeah, got you. Just to clarify, can you first of all just it was when you saw it eating the animal, what did that look like? What did this beast look like roughly to you? It had pointy ears. Did it have a muzzle? Was it?
Yeah. Well, when I first saw it, it was kind of like in a shadowy area, and it was kind of a distance. But I saw pointy ears, like a darker figure. Um, it did seem to have like a wolf head, from what I could tell.
Okay, right. But it stood up. You saw it stand up on two legs.
Yes, and it had the dog-like legs.
Okay, right. So, are you okay to take us back to that laundry room with the doorknob rattling? What happened then,
Okay.
Chris?
Yeah.
You
So
okay?
about yeah. So it stopped rattling the door and walked over to the window that was to the right of the door and peeked in. And it gave me like it looked like it had a smirk on its face, or a smile type look, but it
Right.
was like this evil looking grin to me, and like it had like letting me know it had me, type look. And it peeks in the window, and I got a way better look at it because it wasn't as dark. It was like, it wasn't a dark, super dark. It was 3:30 in the afternoon. However, it was winter, so it gets darker faster. But it was just when I first seen it, there was like it was in the shade, kind of. So, but anyway, so this one was, I would say, probably like a charcoal gray, dark, super dark gray. And have you seen the Underworld movies at all?
Yeah, I love them. They're brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. And so this it looked a lot like them.
Did it? It looked like it looked like one of the werewolves in the Underworld series of movies.
Yes. I think it looked the
Wow.
most like.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. Because they're really kind of they're big and they're muscular. Those things are the ones in the movie.
Yes. And yeah, so it looked a lot like them, in my opinion. Yeah. So.
Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah. Okay.
I ended up eventually hiding behind a machine, hoping this thing would get bored and leave. I didn't know what else to do. So.
Okay,
Yeah.
right. So, all right. So, say again. So it's rattling the doorknob. You could hear it breathing. You were praying, obviously saying, hoping to God it does not come in. But did it just go away? Are you saying that it went away, or?
No, not yet. It did eventually, but at this point, it was staring in the window, and
Yeah.
so I'm like, I know it already seen me, but I was hoping that if I hid behind the machine, it would get tired of waiting for me to come out or whatever.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
And so I hear it like walk around the building, and you could hear it like scraping its claws on the side of the building.
Mm-hmm.
So you can hear it. It was like taunting me and stuff, and I heard it like snort a couple times, and came back. It went around the building, and then it got back to the window eventually and started tapping. And I'm like, holding my breath and stuff, and just, is this ever going to end? Is this thing going to get me? Whatever. And so I didn't hear anything for a little while after the tapping. And so I look around, and he had his head turned. And so I went behind the machine again and still didn't hear anything. And so I walk out kind of around, and I didn't see it. And so when I looked, it was getting back on all fours, and it ran back into the woods.
Did it look awkward when it went on all fours? Did it look awkward to you, or did it look more natural on all
like
fours?
the front legs were like really long, so it looked like, you see the movies how the werewolves run,
Yeah.
It kind of looks weird.
Yeah.
And so it kind of looked like that, but at the time I didn't really think werewolf because I hadn't seen werewolf movies at this point. My parents never let me watch horror movies and stuff growing up, and so I hadn't watched really any at that point. So I was about 30 before I started watching anything like that. So
Okay, got you. Yeah. Wow.
It was actually in 97, so it has been a little while.
97, yeah, it has been a bit, isn't it? Yeah, I suppose 97, 2007. Yeah, it has been a while. Yeah, it was before mobiles as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Unfortunately, both of them were, so I didn't get to take pictures, so.
No, that's right. Damn. I don't think, I think if I was in your position, the last thing I'd want to do is take a photo anyway.
Right. I'm just trying to stay alive, yeah.
And you have the fourth horseman, who's called Death, and he is allowed to. He's given power to kill a fourth of humanity through war, through pestilence, which is diseases, through actual famine, and then something called the beasts of the earth. And if you talk to your average pastor about this, they won't say much because they'll say something like, well, this means that, animals are, hamsters and giraffes and porcupines are going to lose their minds and start slapping people around. The lions are going to escape from the zoo and start eating people. They don't spend much time on it because it sounds weird. But that word, beast of the earth, is actually the Greek term therion gigantes, or therion gi. Therion, we know throughout the rest of Revelation, it means a supernatural entity.
Talk about Dogman for a minute. The infamous Dogman. Most people fear this being. Most people think that they don't belong here. Most people got it wrong about this being. Over the recent years, reports have increased of sightings of these beings, but these beings are ancient, dating back before 400 BC. People of Ethiopia and India describe seeing a bipedal, dog-headed being standing at over 7 feet tall with a muscular structure and amber eyes. But also in medieval Christian texts, such as the Alexander Romance, describe monstrous beings of the outer edges of the world. And also, Chinese folklore describes inland dwellers of the forest. Although there are sightings throughout the entire world, the United States seems to be a hot spot, with the infamous Beast of Bray Road, sightings in the land between the lakes, and the Wisconsin Dogman. There are many different theories on the origin of these beings, including an experiment gone wrong by the dark government, or that these beings have been here before us humans, that they're biological and very physical and shed blood. And also that these beings could be supernatural and jump through portals, but also can be physical. There's many different theories, and I think not one is correct. I think all of them are. A lot of these stories have things that they share in common, such as what the appearance of this being is. Most will say it's a dog-headed figure that looks like a German Shepherd or a Doberman Pinscher, standing at over 7 feet tall with glowing amber eyes, sometimes blue, with a muscular structure, usually dark in color with silver mixed in with the coat. The body is muscular, but it looks like more human-like. The hands are more like a human's, but the legs are more like a dog's. Stories people will describe when they see these beings that the forest goes silent and there's an impending doom and a fear like they've never felt before, and they feel like sometimes that they are telepathically communicating with this being. This being is talking to them with their mind, and most accounts these people are scared out of the forest by these beings, whether they came across a structure and damaged it. Maybe they're hunting their food, or they're just pissed off that they didn't knock first because the forest is their home. There are very few accounts, but they are still valid, of these beings mauling people, and for no apparent reason. And that's why some people will call these beings demonic, which I do not believe the case. If you are to ever encounter one of these beings in the forest, don't run. These beings are predatory in nature. Stand your ground. Don't ever look them in the eyes, though. But out loud, state your intentions. Tell them you mean no harm and that you will leave immediately. And slowly back away. Don't ever turn your back on them, though. If you do this, your chances of survival are very, very high. Like I said, most cases, they are scared out of the forest because people don't realize that, for one thing, they have every right to share this world with us. They were created by the same source that we were created by. They are our brothers and sisters, and we should knock before we enter their home, the woods, and we shouldn't ruin their structures and hunt all their food. I believe they have every right to be pissed off at people that don't respect their home. So show respect to them, and your survival is very high. People that share these stories, they're so angry and they're scared, and they think that they actually escaped an encounter with the Dogman, and the fact of the matter is they didn't escape. These beings let them live. They let them go. These beings are very fast, very smart, and if they wanted to hurt you, they can. Nobody is escaping a Dogman. People think humans are on top of the food chain, but the fact is, it's the Dogman and the Sasquatch. Whether you believe in the existence of Dogman, that's up to you. A lot of people laugh when people hear stories, but there are so many. How can they not be real? These stories are told by trustworthy sources, police officers, government officials, people that have something to lose by telling the story, people that don't want clout. There's just too many, and I have experienced the Dogman. I have seen one, and I have heard them, and I have no reason to lie to you. So in my opinion, I wasn't seeing things. I actually saw one, and they're very real. I'll end it with this. Have respect for these beings. They belong here just like you and I do, and in my humble opinion, I think us humans are far more scary than these beings. Most of the time, they're just defending their territory. They are territorial. People, do your research and don't just assume things. And like I said, these beings are letting these people live. They're not escaping.
Thank you for watching. If these Dogman encounters sent a chill down your spine, make sure to subscribe and drop your thoughts in the comments below. As always, stay safe, stay aware, question everything, and remember, out there in those woods, something might be watching.